How y'all doing, everybody? Welcome to Cash Media. Back at it once again. Welcome back, man. I got another good topic for you guys today. It's gonna be a quick one though, because I'm actually finna see Creed 3 in theaters for the early access showing, right? So I'm not even gonna talk about that, but you know what? I'm probably gonna talk about that later on in my stream. But we're here to talk some ball. We're here to talk about what's going down. An article just dropped. And I'm excited to talk about this one because I think this one is going to be pretty funny. You guys are going to be shocked to see the results. So, first things first, hold on, let me check that comment section. Let me check the chat. Hey, little bro, love you too. Hey, man, don't be doing all that in the comment section, though. We appreciate it, though. Love you too, little homie. All right, though. But that's that. At least, like and subscribe, by the way. Hit that bell, that notification button, so whenever you guys want to tap in. This is also a debate platform, so you guys can tune in whenever. And if you guys have something you guys want to talk about pertaining to what's going on with sports or anything pertaining to the topic, you guys can always chime in and talk about anything, in regards to the sport. All right. So first things first, let's get this out the way. All right. So LeBron, Nikola Jokic, and Pop, what retired NBA players like and don't like about today's game. So we already know, man, going back, for the past couple months or even years now, retired players have definitely had a lot of things to say. I mean, if you guys keep up with TNT, you already know that Shaq, Charles Barkley, Kenny the Jet Smith, and a multitude of other players always had something to say in regard to today's game. Right. A lot of players have spoken up on the defensive side of the ball and just talking about how the game has ultimately shifted in a different direction. Right. There's a lot more shooting, a lot more zone defenses ran today. The pace has increased on a consistent basis, at least when it comes to the regular season. Scoring is literally through the roof. And this season in particular, we're having one of the most efficient seasons of all time. With 7 to 8 players averaging 30 points per game in a season, right? That's never really happened before. And then if Kevin Durant had been playing for a consistent amount of time, who's to say he wouldn't have had averaged 30 also, and that would have just added on to what's going on. But, so to sum things up, at least as it pertains to this article, because I already read through it, so I already know what's in the article, but basically, retired players had voted on a multitude of things, and one of the main things that they voted on was who they thought was the best current NBA player. So, right, I'm going to bring that up for you guys, and I want to see what you guys have to say, and I'm going to show you, right, the results because it is shocking, right? So here it is. Who is the best current NBA player? There you have it right there. You know what? I'm going to even zoom in for you guys just in case if it's a little bit small. But there it is, man. Yeah, that's the last one. So the retired NBA players ultimately voted on LeBron being 28.1% of the vote, Nikola Jokic being 21.2%, Giannis being 21%, Kevin Durant 11.8%, Steph Curry 6.6%, Luka 6.6, with Curry and Doncic being tied, Kyrie Irving receiving 2.2 votes, and then multiple other players being under 2% in the voting. Right now, first things first, I disagree. I respect LeBron. Right? But at the end of the day, I'm gonna be honest. I can't be biased. Right? I know you guys heard me in the past say a lot of things in regards to LeBron's career, but I try to keep it fair. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to throw my criticism where it's deserved, right? And to be fair, I'm not going to try to criticize LeBron, but fact of the matter is, LeBron is not the best player in the NBA as we speak. What's up, Batch? How you doing, bro? How you doing, man? Still working over here, bro. How you doing? Hope you're doing good, brother, man. Hey, I got a lot more tuning in. I got a lot more to come. I'm just still working on some things. I'm finally gonna have OBS up and running here pretty soon, so things are gonna start to look a lot better on my platform, because I know as far as quality comes, I'm still working out, some nits and knacks here and there. But trust me, it's gonna get really better in about a month or so. Giannis is the best player in the league right now. Nah, 100% agree. And you know what? I'm gonna even get to that. But by the way, if you're tuning in, or if you just kind of clicked on the video, so the people that voted on this were actually retired NBA players. But I 100% agree with you. In my opinion, I feel like Giannis is the best player. But they even had Nikola Jokic just a smidge above Giannis Antetokounmpo by just 2%, right? So it was really close as it pertains to players that are currently in their prime. Now, I wouldn't classify LeBron as being in their prime, but I think the vote, and having LeBron as the current best NBA player was kind of out of respect, especially since this season he broke the all-time scoring record. So I think when it came down to the vote, I think people were just looking at LeBron trying to give his respect, and his just due, because obviously he's done it for a long time. He's still playing at a competitively high level, even in year 20 at the age of 38. And I feel like with a lot of old guys, because since the situation hasn't been precedented, I think people are trying to give LeBron that nod because of what he's doing right now. But respectively, I mean, we know that LeBron is not the best player in the league. It's sad to say, because I've seen him be the best player for such a long time, the 2010s decade in particular. But the fact that Kevin Durant was also got 11% of the vote. And another shocking thing also is the fact that Joel Embiid wasn't higher than Kyrie Irving, right? Kyrie Irving got 2.2% of the vote. Not to say that Kyrie Irving doesn't deserve to get a vote, but to say that he's above Joel Embiid, in my opinion, is strictly outrageous, right? I find that to be a little bit shocking. And honestly, I find that a little bit shocking to have to vote for Kyrie over Damian Lillard, especially what Damian Lillard had been doing over the past couple games, right? He just had 71 points. He's been going on a tear lately and damn near averaging well over 30 points per game in the past couple of games, right? And, I've gone through that on Monday after he had that 71-point game spiel. And so with all due respect, man, I would take Damian Lillard over Kyrie Irving, but I think people are just a little bit strung out, and maybe, some retired NBA players just aren't impressed with Damian Lillard's resume at the moment. But we know he's a baller. We know he's doing his thing. So, hey, haters gonna hate. All right, let's scroll it down a bit, because there's actually more to this, right? So another thing here is, what do you miss most about being an NBA player or an AB player? So this was another interesting question coming from the retired pros, right? So here's what they answered. So they said 41.4% was comradeship with teammates. The competition is 25%. The money is 9.7%. Traveling, fans, game days, and game nights. The sport itself, and then multiple resources, multiple responses, right? So the biggest thing that I didn't really find too shocking was the comradeship was 41%, right? I mean, if you played in any team sport, if anybody has really ever played in any sort of team sport, I mean, you would kind of understand. I played football as a youngin, so I love the camaraderie. I love being with my teammates and kind of going through the hard work things. And, when you see these guys throughout the year, they're trying to battle it out, against the best teams. And, they're doing that together, right? So I don't really got much to say about this. This is kind of like something, that's from their perspective. So it's nothing really much to add. As far as the competition is concerned, that in itself, I mean, I love the fact that they feel that way. I feel like sometimes some players should honestly apply that in today's game. I'm not really too big or too against, players teaming up and forming a big three or forming a team of some sort. But at the end of the day, I would like to see guys still compete against each other, so we can at least have that conversation or debate later on in the future. All right. So another thing that they brought up was, what would you do differently in your professional career if you could play in your current? right? And then so most of them had said 17% said work harder or train smarter, shoot more 3-pointers, right? Showcase my talent more. I do nothing differently. 10% said I'll do nothing differently. Be more careful with my money, 5%. Take the game more seriously, 4%. 2.6% said be a better ball handler. Uh, do more in the community, 2.6%. That's tied for be a better ball handler. Be paid better, 2%. And socialize more, 2%. Play longer, 2%. Remain with one team by signing a long-term contract, 2%. Stretch more, 2%. And then multiple responses, under 2%, right? So, so that was another thing that that kind of stood out. Yeah, but I had to put that up there for Batch. I should have did it when he was in there, to be honest. Yeah, Giannis is the best player in the world. I don't disagree with that. I know some of you guys would, but honestly, that's really what's up for debate, though. And we're gonna see this year. This year is gonna be an exciting year, though. And then so the next one is, which current player do you enjoy most? Now, check this out, right? Steph Curry is 28.5%. Ja Morant is 15.2%. Nikola Jokic is 10%. Kevin Durant, 8.7%. Luka Doncic, 8.5%. Giannis, 6.5%. LeBron, 5.7%. Kyrie, 2.4%. Jason Tatum, 2.2%. And then multiple players under 2%. All right, so damn, Joel Embiid is just getting snubbed in all different types of directions. But I'm not really surprised that Steph Curry was probably the most enjoyable to watch because he revolutionized the game in the shooting aspect, right? A lot of what a lot of these players are doing today is because of Steph Curry. And honestly, because of the Splash Brothers. And you know what? We can even throw James Harden and Damian Lillard in there too because they deserve a lot of credit in the three-point shooting era. But when it comes to Steph Curry, I mean, it's pretty much self-explanatory. He's the best shooter we've ever seen in our lifetime or even ever. He has the most three-pointers ever in the history of the NBA. So I can't say that he's solely responsible for the three-point shooting era, but he has a big influence on it. And honestly, he has a foot on the game when it comes to shooting threes. Ja Morant, we already know what he can do. He's still relatively young. But the question is enjoy watching, right? And Ja Morant is definitely one of those players you have to enjoy watching, right? He's electrifying, he's box office, and most importantly, he knows how to put some thrill into the game, right? He brings some excitement. He's admitted to talking shit in his game, which kind of electrifies him and kind of gets some things going. But most importantly, his game is just centered around his vertical and being able to kind of yam it on anybody. He's known for getting them posterized, right? So, but the fact that he's also like a 6'1", 6'2" guy and being able to jump like the way he does is extremely phenomenal, right? Jokic, even though I could talk my ish in the past, I mean, I still got to give Buddy credit where credit is due. Right, he still does his thing. In the fact that they're winning with the consistency of him being able to get triple doubles and also have his team get wins as a result to that. I mean, there's nothing more we can really say about that, right? So Nikola Jokic is definitely a big that's revolutionizing his own position because now the centers they're playmaking now, right? They're even more playmakers today than there were before, but players and positions have to adjust with the game, and Nikola Jokic is damn near ahead of the game when it comes to that. All right, Kevin Durant, nothing. Kevin Durant, Luka Doncic, Giannis, LeBron. There's nothing much to really say in that aspect. Like Kyrie Irving, I mean, all these guys we all know. I don't think I really even need to expand on why they like watching these guys because we watching the same game. We watching the same effing sport. So why do I need to explain this, right? Why? But let me know though, right? Another thing that they tapped into was who would win a series. So this is just theorizing who would win. And they chose the 76ers and the Warriors. But let me ask this question because there's some context with it. So we're interested to know how the 2021 and 2022 NBA champions Golden State Warriors would fare in hypothetical best out of 7 series against a championship team of the past. We've picked the 82 to 83 Philadelphia 76ers, which included Moses Malone, Julius Erving, Maurice Cheeks, Andrew Toney, and Bobby Jones. If those players played each other using the NBA rules employed in 2003, midway between the team's championship seasons, which team would win the series and how many games would it take? All right, so 74% had said the Philadelphia 76ers would beat last year's Golden State Warriors, who just won the championship, right? So to be honest here, I can't really have opinion with conviction because I didn't watch basketball in that time. So I can't really argue. I can't really argue against the team that I've seen just last year against a team back in the 80s because I wasn't even born in the 80s. So, but let me know though. What do you guys think? Do you think the Warriors, last year's Warriors, the Warriors that won the championship would be able to beat the 82 to 83 Philadelphia 76ers with Julius Erving on there? Because I think that would be a really phenomenal matchup. But then Julius Erving, he played at the 2 or the 3. And then so he would probably all be guarded by either Andrew Wiggins or Klay Thompson. That in itself would be extremely difficult. And back then it was more so a big man game, and a lot of those guys were athletic. But that's not to say the Warriors aren't athletic too. They're a very quick team. I think they keep teams on their toes, especially with their passing. They're one of the best passing teams in the NBA. Even despite their record today, they're one of the best passing teams. They're up to par when it comes to the Denver Nuggets. And we see the results that they're getting out of that. Only difference is the Denver Nuggets are more consistent with sticking defense, at least on the road, right? So next question is, how many games would it take? So they are saying 33% of 33 said that they would win. The Sixers would win in 6. And then on the Warriors end, right, the highest was 8.9 that the Warriors would win in 7. So they definitely think that the Sixers would have an easier time of beating the Warriors. But if the Warriors were to win, the probability is significantly lower with 8.9. Right, like I said, I can't really argue this fact. I can't really argue this too much, even though I would love to. But I definitely want to hear your guys' opinion. Let me know, man. Do you guys think the 76ers would beat the Warriors? But yeah, man. This is interesting. This is interesting to say the least. Is the quality of play in the NBA today better or worse than it was during your career? And 23%, shockingly enough, said it's a bit worse. 21% said it can't compare different eras. 14.9% said it's a bit better today. And then 12.8% said it's much worse. And then 10% said it's much better. 6% said the same. 5% said offensive skills are better, but there's less defense. And then 3.2% said the athleticism is better, but the fundamentals are worse. And then multiple responses were under 2%. Now, I find this to be extremely interesting because considering, these guys actually play the game, so they give they give much more insight than us as fans, right? But to say that it's a bit worse, I think that's a little bit unfair. I think it's fair to say the defense kind of disseminated a bit, which I think offensive skills are better, but there's less defense. I think that's a much more fair, accurate response if you had to analyze today's game. But, I think that comes with pace. I think that comes with defense. I think that comes, there's so many different factors today that can say why the game has changed today. But I don't ultimately think it got worse. If anything, I think it just got more skilled. And then, because defense is zone, a lot of these guys aren't really going man to man. There's a lot more space today. So it is a lot in some way, shape, or form. It is kind of harder for you to really lock down a guy, in zone defense, right? So that's my thing, man. I disagree. I don't think the game got much worse. If anything, you can analyze some aspects of the game where you could say, all right, this got better, this got worse. But I wouldn't say it got worse into that. I think that's extremely unfair. And y'all OGs are some haters, man. Hating. All right. So what is the next response? Which current NBA coach would you have most liked to play for? Right. Steve Kerr got 28%. Greg Popovich got 28%. Doc Rivers got 5%. Eric Spoelstra 5%. Jason Kidd 3%. Monty Williams 3%. Michael Malone 3%. Mike Brown 2%. Budenholzer 2%. Rick Carlisle 2%. Tyronn Lue 2%. Jacques Vaughn 2%, and then multiple responses under 2%. So, I mean, can I be surprised? Should I? I'm kind of more so in the middle. I mean, but Steve Kerr, I would say, is one of the best coaches of all time, considering what he's done. I think we just kind of gloss over it since he's currently coaching, and the Warriors have been going through a rough patch this year. I mean, they've gone through a couple rough patches over the season. But to say the least, given the pedigree on how successful they've been recently, I mean, I think Steve Kerr deserves a lot of credit for what's been going on. Greg Popovich, right, is an OG in the game. I mean, the Spurs aren't that great. I mean, they're horrible right now. But Greg Popovich had his fair share of dynasties, right? He coached Tim Duncan. He coached a lot of great players in just one team, right? So to say the least, you have to have a firm, stern coach to go in there and actually be able to implement some form of leadership with guys. I mean, I wouldn't say that they're characters, but to make it mesh, to find a way to make it work. And I think, Greg Popovich deserves a lot of credit. And that's where you start to see these old guys, start to give not only the players that they've played with, but the coaches that's just been doing it for such a long time, right? Doc Rivers. I mean, I know he's a guy that's probably played alongside some or most of these guys, but some people might defer. Some people feel like Doc Rivers is probably the worst coach in the league right now, but I beg to differ. Eric Spoelstra, right? He's been in the game for quite some time. He was there when LeBron won those back-to-back MVPs, championships, and he deserves some credit though too. I mean, even though they've kind of been up and down during the regular season, but for the most part, they've Miami Heat have maintained relevancy when it comes to playoff contention, right? And then anything lower than that with Jason Kidd, Monty Williams, Mike Malone, Mike Brown, I mean, anything lower than that really is just Budenholzer and then Tyronn Lue. And I think Rick Carlisle does have a championship that one year in 2011 with Dirk Nowitzki, when Dirk Nowitzki was going crazy, but I'm a bit shocked to see Jacques Vaughn. Not to say that I think he's a bad coach, but just the fact that, he got the same vote as Tyronn Lue or Rick Carlisle or Budenholzer. But I mean, it's fair. I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying just because he's a relatively new coach, you know what I mean? And then so let me see how many is there. Oh, man. All right, let's do this one. Let's do this one, all right? So which current player would have excelled when you played? Now, I find it very interesting, right? So 39% said LeBron James, Kevin Durant, 23%, 17%, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 16%, Nikola Jokic, 14%, all of them, 13%, Luka, 12%, Embiid, 11%. Greats today would have been great back then, 11%. Kyrie, 7%, Clay, 5%, Kawhi, 3%, Dame, 2%, Ja, 2%, Chris Paul, 2%, and Jason Tatum, 2%, and then multiple responses were under 2%. Now this is a long list to kind of take away from, but, I think it's fair to have LeBron on top of this list. He's a great, I feel like can play in really any era. Because of the physicality that he also brings, and just like the way he's dominated the game for so long. I mean, if you can tell LeBron is not in the prime of his career, because if he would, he would have a bigger effect on the game. But now we clearly know that's not the case because he's getting older, he's getting injured. But Kevin Durant, right? I think Kevin Durant can play in any era. He would probably be like the Larry Bird of any era when it comes, but probably a lot more efficient when it comes to shooting. Steph Curry, I don't think that would change. If anything, the only thing that I think that would probably affect his game is probably just the injuries, especially with going to the hole. I think he would definitely get knocked up once or twice going to the paint because, Steph Curry, he's very shifty, he's very quick. And the fact that sometimes when he's cooking these guys on the court offensively, he's gonna get a nice little elbow in a rib cage somewhere. He's probably gonna get hurt somewhere at some point. Uh, Boy, appreciate it, bro. Good looking out on that thumbs up. Right, Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? The physicality that he brings, the post up. I feel like Giannis Antetokounmpo's game would definitely translate in earlier eras because he plays like those guys in those earlier eras, and he would probably shoot just about the same as those guys in those earlier eras, right? Nikola Jokic, I think he can play in earlier eras, but I think his scoring and his assist numbers will probably go down a little bit more because given the fact that how physical at least from the center position was back then, and I think there were a lot of tough centers that were actually guarding up as opposed to today. You see a lot of situations where you see centers switched up because of the zone defense. Guys are switching off on a constant basis. So sometimes you even really see the matchup that you would want to see because of how the defensive scheme is, right? But I feel like back then it's more like mano a mano. So we would definitely see a different game. Not to say that Nikola Jokic would be complete shit back then, but I think the results would be completely different, especially with the pace of the game slowing down just a bit, with the exception of the 80s, because the 80s shockingly had really high points per game averages and a high pace. But to say the least, I still think Nikola Jokic would still do some damage, right? Embiid is finally up there, man, with 11%. That's good to see, though. But other than that, though, I think a lot of these guys, there's nothing really much to say as far as the other players are concerned. Because there are a bunch of great players. But that's it, man. So that is it on, this article, what retired players had to say in regards to, who they thought was the best NBA player, right? I think it was pretty funny to see what they had to say in their responses, but it was pretty good to see. There was definitely some shocking questions in there, some shocking answers, to say the least, but it is what it is, man. So another thing that I do want to point out, if you guys are tuning in, right, please tap into the description, to the description box, because I do have a 30-day free The Athletic, right, prescription. So if you guys tap into that, you will get 30 free days of The Athletic. So articles like I just read, you will be able to tap into that also. All right, and they have a ton of information, a lot of breaking news. If you guys are familiar with Shams, right, the guy who's a colleague, or maybe not a colleague, but a rival of Adrian Wojnarowski, the guy that's always been breaking news. Shams is like equivalent to that. So whenever he drops news, articles, and anything that pertains to that, if you guys are huge on things like that, definitely tap into The Athletic because it's a really, really good resource, right? So that is all I have to say. I have to get out of here so I can finally watch this movie. But thank you guys for tuning in. This is Cash Sports. I'm sorry, Cash Media now, right? Because I'm gonna officially change the name. I know it's up there already, so tune in for that. And I know I got to get a new logo, right? So like the video, subscribe, hit that bell, that notification button. Like you guys, right? So tune in next time and have a good day. Ooh. All right, I was supposed to click this.